Hey guys, this is Austin. So after months of leaks and hype, we finally have the new Google Nexus 5. But the question is it worth it? Take a look around the phone, and it's a fairly unassuming looking device. Even though it's entirely plastic, it has a good feel in the hands with sharply cut edges and tight build quality. On the black version, the back and sides are coated in a soft touch rubbery material, which makes the phone a bit grippy and reminds me a lot of the HTC One X. There are also ceramic buttons, which add a bit of character to the otherwise forgettable phone. One big area of disappointment is in the speaker. Not only is it easy to cover with a finger accidentally, but it's just way too quiet. Fire the Nexus up and you'll be greeted by a 5-inch 1920 by 1080 display. It's a good looking screen with great viewing angles thanks to the IPS design, and it gets reasonably bright. Unfortunately, colors are slightly less saturated than I'd like, but overall it's solid. The main reason the Nexus 5 exists, however, is to show off Google's vision of Android, and you won't be disappointed here as it's running Android 4.4 KitKat. Most of the changes here are cleaning up and simplifying the UI. For example, the on-screen buttons and status bar are now transparent. There's a new font, as well as bigger icon sizes, and lots of subtle tweaks like removing the hollow blue in favor of a plainer looking white. I really like all of the visual changes. It gives Android a much more grown-up look and feel. The Hangouts app has now been upgraded with SMS support, which works, although it would be nice to have better integration, and Google Now is just a quick swipe from the left on your home screen. Like the Moto X, you can say, "OK Google" to launch a voice search, although I quickly turned this off. Hey Google. And that is probably the biggest problem with how Google Now works on the Nexus 5. It is very easy to accidentally trip it by saying, "Hey Google," or "Sup Google," or "OK Google," and it will pretty much pick it up. Inside, you'll find the Nexus 5 is stacked with a 2.3 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 800, 2 GB of RAM, and either 16 or 32 GB of storage. It delivers absolutely awesome performance in normal use, making the Nexus one of the most responsive phones you can buy. The benchmarks back this up, putting it right on par with phones like the Note 3 and the iPhone 5S. For a camera, you'll find an 8-megapixel shooter with optical image stabilization. The results are pretty decent, there's a good amount of detail, and the colors are accurate. The image stabilization makes a big difference for low light shooting as well. Unfortunately, images are also washed out sometimes, and it has real trouble focusing a lot of the time. My biggest problem with the camera is definitely the awful stock Android camera app. It's slow, and the interface drives me crazy anytime I need to go grab a manual setting. On the other hand, video on the Nexus 5 is pretty solid. So the microphones do a good job with audio, and with that optical image stabilization, it helps you get some nice and smooth shots. By far my biggest problem with the Nexus 5 is battery life, as by the end of the day, I was usually scrambling to find a charger. Most times, it would give out with less than 3 hours of screen on time, which is just unacceptable for a smartphone in 2013. Hopefully we can see some kind of update to improve the battery life. As Android 4.4 is new, there's maybe a chance that some optimization needs to be done, but right now it's a pretty major issue. So overall, what's the verdict? Is the Nexus 5 worth it? It's got a few flaws, like a very quiet speaker and iffy battery life, but it's also one of the fastest phones you can buy, as well as obviously going to be the most up-to-date Android phone on the market. So for $350, it's hard to pass up the Nexus 5, as long as you keep a charger handy. So what do you think? Is the Nexus 5 the phone for you? Definitely be sure to let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you enjoyed, definitely be sure to subscribe to the channel so you're always kept up to date with the latest and greatest. Anyway, I will catch you guys next time.